Good morning, everybody. It's Mallory Smythe with Endow. This weekend, my husband and I had the honor of speaking at a couples retreat about prayer. And as we were talking to the couples about how to pray together, my husband brought forth this great insight about the story of whenever Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt. And see, we often think of Moses just going right to Pharaoh and saying, "Let my people go," and then the drama unfolds from there. But it actually didn't start that way. It started whenever Moses went to Pharaoh and asked for time off so that the Israelites could worship God. He said, "Can we please go into the desert and worship our Lord?" And see, the word worship in Hebrew is Avadh. That's the word that Moses used. And Avadh actually means three different things in the Hebrew language. It means first to serve, second, the sacred, it means to worship, and third, the secular, it means to work. And so at first, Pharaoh says that they can, but then he changes his mind and he says, "No, not only will I not allow you to Avadh the Lord in the desert, I will make you Avadh so much that you will not have time to Avadh in the desert," right? And so that can be confusing, but he's saying, not only will I not let you worship the Lord in the desert, but I will increase your workload, Avadh, so much that you will not be able to worship God. And then everything unfolds from there, and we know how the story ends. But as my husband was talking about that, I could just think of modern times. Right? We don't need a king or a pharaoh to increase our workload whenever we so willingly give ourselves over to it anyway. Our culture gives us the tyranny of the urgent, and we gladly accept it. Right? We live our life by to-do lists, by what needs to be done now, by climbing the corporate ladder, or by checking that next thing off the productivity list. So much so that the urgent is always waiting for us, keeping us from living a life of worship. And see, as I've been reading through our study on Letter to Women, I came across one line that I think answers this so well. It's talking about Mary, and it says, "Mary wasn't faithful to an occupation. She was faithful to a vocation." Right? Mary wasn't faithful to the externals, not that they didn't matter. She was faithful to the call that God had given her first. She was faithful to her vocation. And so as I think about my own life and how I'm constantly just giving in to the pressures of what is urgently needs to be done right now, and maybe it does, am I first being faithful to the call that God has placed within me and allowing everything else to flow from that, and all my yeses and all my nos to be determined from that? Right? I think if we decided that we were going to be faithful to God's call on our lives, then the tyranny of the urgent wouldn't seem so urgent as normally it does, and that we could live a life of worship instead of giving ourselves over to our work and finding our identity in our work. So if you want to center your life more on the vocation that God has called you to, and you want to learn more about what that means, you can dive into an Endow study at www.endowgroups.org, or you can connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Endow Groups. Have a great week.